You are listening to Fox Radio 910 and 104.3. I want to welcome you to Let's Talk About, our weekly radio program sponsored by Crowning Touch Senior Moving Services of Roanoke, Virginia. My name is Linda Balentine, the president of Crowning Touch and your host for this series. I interview local characters, service providers, politicians, teachers, entrepreneurs, and business professionals, and each one is dedicated to improving life in our valley. Every person has an interesting perspective to share from all walks of life. So, let's begin today's interview. All righty, good morning. I have the pleasure of sitting with Chief David Hoback of the Roanoke City Fire and EMS Department. Chief Hoback, thank you for taking the time today
Thanks for having me.
Acquaint our listeners with an overview of your career in the operation of our Roanoke City Fire Department. And I want to start by asking you, what in the world inspired you to become a firefighter? I mean, that's little kids like to do that, but you held on to that vision, or something happened in there that made you want to risk your life and help other people risk their lives in order to save lives?
Yeah, well, I was always intrigued with the fire service and EMS, and I kind of grew up in the era of the sitcom called Emergency.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day with Roy and Johnny Gage and the LA County Fire Department. And, it was always on Saturday nights, and I enjoyed watching that. And just intrigued at what they had to do, what they got to do in their job every day. And as I grew up, I realized that I had an opportunity in high school to start volunteering and start doing some of those very tasks that I saw on TV.
Are you a Roanoke guy?
I am.
Wow.
I was born and raised in Roanoke, been here all my life.
Lucky you.
Yep. So with that, I joined a Roanoke Life Saving Crew, which is just down the street from here. It was the first all-volunteer rescue squad in the world.
Wow. Oh, come on.
Yep,
in the world?
In the world. And that's what they're credited for in 1928. And so when I joined there, I was started into an EMT program, Emergency Medical Technician program, and then they asked me to join the organization, and I did. Back then, in the city of Roanoke, we had 3 volunteer rescue squads. One was the Roanoke Life Saving Crew, the other was Hunt Life Saving Crew, which is the first all-black volunteer rescue squad in the world.
Wow. And
then the Williamson Road Life Saving Crew out located on Williamson Road. So I started doing the job of being an EMS provider and running calls and, structure fires and car accidents and shootings and overdoses and delivering babies and all that stuff. And I was just 17 years old.
Oh, my.
So I really did enjoy it. I really enjoyed what I do because every time I walked in the station, it was something different.
No joke.
And from there, I just really had a strong passion to continue in that direction. Went to college, and from college, I kept getting pulled back to work and volunteer. The city in 1985 started its own supplemental pay program to help the volunteers because the volunteers started having some trouble getting the paramedics they needed to answer the calls.
I bet.
So I was one of the first paramedics hired in January of 1985 and started working for the city then. Still volunteering at Roanoke Life Saving Crew. With that, I grew in the city. This is the only full-time job I've ever had. Started in 1985. I celebrated my 40 years in January of this year. So it's been a great career for me, and the city's been good to me, and I've gotten to do everything. If you watch the show, throughout my career, I've been able to do everything that they were able to do.
Isn't that something?
So it is really a true blessing for me to fill a dream.
Tell us a little bit about where we are right now. We're downtown, right? We're on the 3rd floor at the corner of Elm and Franklin. Mm-hmm. And this building is relatively new. How old is this building?
This building was put up in 2007.
Okay.
It was part of a strategic business plan that my predecessor, Jim Grigsby, put together. And he went up to the city manager's office in 2005, and then I moved into the chief as acting role in that time. So this building was one of my first projects to build in the fire station. So I was project manager to build this station. It was built on a brownfield where a laundromat used to be. It's a tight site.
Yes,
but
it
it
is.
really fits the community because the ability to get places from this station is phenomenal compared to the other 2 stations we had, which is the historic station downtown on Church and the other one at 6 and Moore. So this station this is the biggest house we have. We have an engine, a ladder, a tiller here, which is a ladder, a battalion, advanced care paramedic, and 2 medic units. So about 34 people are here.
How many are paid?
All are paid. We don't have any volunteers anymore, so all this is all paid.
Wow.
And so this house is, again, one of the biggest houses, is the biggest house we have as far as staffing goes. But it also is the busiest station that we have based on the responses and the calls they answer.
Now, the fellows that are here, tell me about the life of a typical firefighter that operates out of this building. And I know that they have an interesting schedule because isn't it like 3 days on or 4 days on and so many days off? And how does that work?
Well, up here we have administration. So the third floor is strictly administration. It covers all the logistics, all the finances, all the the day-to-day operations of how we conduct our business. And we also have the fire marshals up here, as well as our emergency management division is here as well. So it's all operated on the third floor. But the operational station is the first 2 floors. And you're right, they work 24-hour shifts. They work from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. They work one, off one, work one, off one, work one, and then they get a 4-day break. They basically work 9 days a month, but they're 24-hour shifts. They work 2,920 hours in a year. A normal 40-hour work week is 2,080 hours a year. So they work substantially more hours.
Wow.
On a 24-hour shift.
It's interesting because I started this moving company, Crowning Touch, about 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I used to get my first employees were volunteers. Mm-hmm. And they came from the Baptist Ball Court over there at First Baptist Church and from the fire department.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I could count on the fact that they'd be drug-free, that they would be physically fit,
right,
and that they would be available when they said they were available. And every once in a while, there would be fire.
Yeah.
And then they'd be involved.
Yeah.
And then I'd be short a man.
Yeah.
But that was a risk I was willing to take because the quality of the personnel here was just fantastic.
Yeah, and I will tell you, that's what's kept me here 40 years is the people.
Right.
We have a great bunch of people that work here. They're very passionate about what they do. They're dedicated. We recently had a very significant fire down the 9th Street Industrial Park.
Oh, that was awful.
And we had no injuries. Everybody knew what their task was and got on that fire and suppressed that fire. And, I got there within a few minutes, or about 10 minutes after the fire was notified. And we already had an aerial up in the air, flowing water. And we had, it was really good. I mean,
well, tell me about that. Tell me about you had airdrops from.
No, we had our ladders up in the air, aerials.
Okay.
So our ladder trucks, we had at that point fire, we had 4 trucks up in the air, 4 aerial trucks up in the air, ladder trucks up in the air flowing water. At one point in time, we were flowing about 6,000 gallons a minute. So it was a huge task to get all that underway. Now,
do we ever have a problem with water the way they did in L.A.? I mean, do you have any dead fire hydrants around?
No, we don't. Down there, we had some on the inner loop that we knew that weren't working because of some leaks, but the firefighters were aware of that, so they knew where to pull the water from.
Yeah. Huh.
So we don't have that problem like they had in L.A. because the water authority is really good to us. They really keep our hydrants well maintained. If we find a problem, we test them every year.
So you do the testing of the hydrants, not the water authority?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
So we inspect them every year. And if we find problems, the water authority is pretty quick to get on them.
Neat.
And then we have a capital program. If we have areas that we identify that are underserved by hydrants, they are pretty good to put that in their capital improvement plan to say, okay, this is what's needed.
What has how's the role of a firefighter changed since you first started? And let's talk about technology too. I mean, everybody's got cell phones and stuff. Do you have to worry about these guys being on their phones or fiddling around when they're?
We do not. They're really focused on their job and what they have to do. Can I say they don't take a picture? I said, no, they do take a picture because it's pride. They understand what's going on, and they say they want to capture the moment of what they, what they had when they got there, and then what they accomplished.
So they didn't have that when you were 17.
No, they didn't. When I came in,
you missed a lot of good moments. They're all held up here. There was no internet.
Everything was handwritten documents, reports. Wow. We didn't have, the radios we have are analog, one channel. And the fire department didn't have any radios you would take into a building with you. Everything was done outside and face-to-face. With today, we have everybody who is a seated position has a radio. So when we're inside, we can communicate. We have multiple channels to talk on so that we're not talking over one another.
Oh, that's good.
So the technology has really improved. Our records management system, as far as completing reports, is all driven by cloud-based systems. We're just now employing a new system called First Do that will help us with our pre-fire plans, our fire inspections, our hydrant maintenance, our hose records, everything under one shop. And that'll it'll improve efficiencies. Matter of fact, the fire we had down on 9th Street, that's already helped us because we had our hose records and we had so much hose on the ground. We were trying to figure out what hose went on what truck because we had one shift that put the hose on the ground. Another shift came in and cleaned it up.
Oh, okay.
So we had to look at the hose numbers, and that records management system on your phone is a hose record 1659. All it goes on engine 2.
Okay, gotcha.
So we knew from there. So technology has really improved.
Yes.
Our learning system that we have here has improved. But when I first came in, we were listening to the bells. And depending on how many bells or how many taps you got is whether it was for you or not. And there was no voice on it.
Wow.
And now we have a computer voice. Everything's generated. It tells us where we're going, what the cross streets are, what the nature is. We have a board that comes up. They can see what the comments are about what's going on. So the firefighters have tremendous technology at their fingertips to be able to be more efficient at what they do, not only just in their day-to-day operations, but in the response matrix. We have mobile computers in each piece of apparatus, so we can punch a button to mark en route, punch a mark drive, show a map of how to get there if they're not familiar with where
that GPS stuff was a huge
wonderful.
help.
And it shows where the hydrants
help.
are and all that stuff. So the technology at their fingertips, they constantly get updates from dispatcher, whether that is, as they get more critical information, will come up with an alert that they have, okay, now we're getting reports that fire is showing, and we'll make that change as necessary.
How do you think AI will make some of the biggest impacts? When you think about AI, where do you think you could use it? Are we going to be sending robots into carrying hoses up, or what do you think is going to happen?
The vision of AI is just at the surface now.
Yes,
and
it is.
You really don't understand its application to many different business modeling. So, we are looking at, we have been looking at drone deployments and whether that is a fit for us. We will look at, there's a lot of things you can look at.
And when you look at a drone deployment, is that something other than a camera over a scene or not? Is that something
there's technology out there that some departments are using so that when you get a report of a structure fire, a drone is launched at the same time we get it, and they put eyes on the scene quicker than the truck gets there, so they'll know what they're dealing with.
Oh, that's very cool.
But we're only 43 square miles. Is that going to be a benefit to us or not? So we got to look at those things and weigh. AI is the same way. What benefit, what technology improvements, what efficiency we will gain by the AI? And we don't know yet. That is something that's just at the surface. We got to really embrace. And I'll be honest with you. I played around with AI. It's wonderful. But, I still have a huge amount to learn, and so does my staff.
Oh, yeah.
And where that's going to lead us and to where. I know it's helping us with our emails. It's helping us with the day-to-day business modeling about policies and everything of that nature. But operationally, how is that going to work?
Yeah. Let me ask you also, if someone wanted to apply, what are you looking for in a firefighter? I know you've got 34 people. I bet you don't have too many vacancies. Do you have any?
Well, we have a huge amount of vacancies.
Oh, do you really?
So we're actually 270 employees. 278 employees work for us in 11 stations. So in any given time, we have 66 people on duty at all those stations to staff our ladders, our engines, our ambulances, our battalions, and our advanced care paramedics.
And everybody's funded, and there are no volunteers.
There are no volunteers.
Okay.
It is all funded.
The whole thing.
The whole thing is
Where
funded.
does the funding come from?
It comes from the general fund. It also
City taxes.
City taxes. It also comes from EMS revenues that we bill for our medical transports. So we do bill, if you call us and we transport you in an ambulance, we will bill your insurance company for that. We don't send you to collections, but we do bill your insurance company.
Okay.
So that is offset, and that program started up in 1989 when I came in as one of the managers of that program. We started that up, and that's what started the paid program more progressively. We didn't have any full-time. We didn't have any full-time people with benefits until '89.
Do you do any kind of fundraising, or does anybody do any fundraising for you?
No, we don't do fundraising. It's not from municipal government. It's not really something we do. We do take donations and have. We got Mission Barbecue. We got Norfolk and Southern. We have, the Berglund Center. They all make contributions to the betterment of our organization, the betterment of our system. And when we do get stuff like that, we really push that out to fire prevention initiatives and health and wellness.
Okay.
And so that the people that give us money from the community goes back to the community.
Gotcha.
And so, whether it's buying a smoke alarms or carbon monoxide alarms or fire extinguishers or public education programs or something like that, and that's what it's used for. We don't have a budget that really sustains all that, so we are somewhat dependent on that plus grants.
You say you are you've got room. You've got room for new hires.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking for?
Well, we are looking for somebody that's passionate about community service.
There must be some age restriction somewhere.
You got to be 18 years of age.
Right.
Okay. You have to.
Is there a restriction at the top?
No.
They just have to be able to go up flights of steps.
They have to be able to pass our physical abilities test.
Okay.
Okay. So when you want to get hired, you can go to workforrunnickfireems.com. It's our recruitment webpage. It tells you everything you need to know about what you need to do to become one of our employees. Okay. We actually have an open application process now for a fall school. Right now we have 16 people in recruit school.
Okay.
And those 16 people will graduate the end of June. And they will go out to company, and they will be our newest firefighters. We've had a huge amount of turnover in the last 3 to 4 years. About 50 to 60% of our employees have turned over.
Wow. Why do you think?
Well, it's just people aging out and wanting to go on to do something different, or they retire. And, you go through COVID, and that was a rough time for anybody in public service, and anybody anywhere, actually. But when you're dealing with public safety, and you really can't shut down operations.
No, but it's one of those, you got to have them jobs.
Yep. So we still have to be at work. You still have to be around everybody else. And I think that took a toll on us.
Huh.
So we did and have had, and we are continuing to hire people. And that is our biggest struggle right now, is to hire and retain firefighters. And we're not unusual. That is pretty much across the Commonwealth and many area departments.
Well, and the same with the police force. Isn't that the same type of issue?
Yeah, the police
Everybody's understaffed.
Everybody's understaffed.
Mm-hmm. What is the biggest misconception people have about firefighting? I mean, do you get guys that come in that have over glamorized the job, and then is that an issue at all?
The fire department and firefighters are looked at very highly by the community.
Yeah, they are.
And we respect that. We understand that, and we don't want to disappoint that. But the true job of firefighter is just doing a job. And, in our system, we run about 35,000 calls a year. And that's a lot of work.
Now, when there's a call, I call 911
Mm-hmm.
frequently, and I've had to call 911. Matter of fact, I had a husband and little girl die in a house fire 45 years ago. Uh-huh. And so I wanted to talk about fire alarms, which had they not turned one off, they might still be alive. Because, it went off all the time when they were cooking.
Yep, it did.
So that was just one of those things. But if I was to dial 911 today, what happens, and why does, maybe I don't need a fire truck, but a fire truck shows up? Explain that to people so that they understand how that works.
Well, we have a very defined response matrix in our computer-aided dispatch system. So when you call 911, everything comes up on a computer, and then the call is classified based on your nature of complaint. If you're having chest pain, difficulty breathing, or you're unconscious, or you are having a seizure, or your house is on fire, or you have a vehicle fire. All those have a different level of response. And It's really based on the critical need of what needs to be done based on the initial call, how much resources we send. If we have somebody we think is in cardiac arrest, you'll get an engine.
Yeah, you will.
An ambulance, and an advanced care paramedic, because it takes that many people to do CPR, manage the airway, get the drugs, everything that needs to be done. About six people is needed on those calls.
And you still get the engine. They can't jump in something else.
No, can't jump in because the engine needs to be in service. So when they clear from that call, they're in service for another call.
Oh, okay. I'm getting you now.
If we marked them out and took them on a regular vehicle, then they'd have to wait to get back to the station before that truck's in service.
See, that explains a lot. I always wondered.
Yeah, we try to keep our trucks available for as much as they can, but it really is based on the critical nature of the call. Now, it may be that you just call and you say you've been sick for 3 days, you want to go to the hospital. You'll get an ambulance running non-emergency to your house. We'll come evaluate you and whether you need to go.
Wow.
But if you have a house fire, you may get 3 engines and 2 ladders and a battalion and an ambulance all to that location. And if your house is on fire, we may send more stuff. Right. The fire we had most recently down in the Riverdale took all of our resources to suppress. And so we pretty much dumped the whole city on that fire.
Wow.
And because of the resources that were needed. That's a big fire. But a regular house fire is 3 engines and 2 ladders. A car fire, you only get an engine. A vehicle accident with entrapment, people who were trapped, you'll get an extrication ladder. We have 2 of those. And you'll get an engine, advanced care paramedic, an ambulance, and a battalion.
Wow.
All needed to manage the scene, to do a safe operation of extracting those patients from the entanglement.
And traffic control. Do the police help with that?
They do, but we try to set our engines up to protect the scenes because some people don't pay attention.
Right.
So our engines our people are very well versed on how to do that and to protect the scene. And then, our main goal is safety, scene safety first, patient care next, and we'll make that happen.
What is the most common cause of a house fire in Roanoke? Is it kitchen related?
It usually is kitchen related. We've had a lot of fires here recently that are cooking fires. We also have fires that are starting to be more of a problem of the abandoned structures where the unhoused are in there, and they may do warming fires.
Right.
We recently had one down on Tazewell Avenue that we believe that's associated with an unhoused being in there, and the fire was started not intentionally, but just because they were trying to either cook something or keep warm. So those are really the two most common. And the third common would be electrical. We do have a lot of houses in our community that don't have upgraded electrical systems. So as they plug in things that pull a lot of current, it does tend to get the wires hot.
Now, do you have an issue? I noticed, I was reading about an ordinance for outdoor fires, and something that I didn't know, and especially downtown, and I was just thinking of it even with my daughter who has a fire pit out back. She also has lots of old pine needles lying all around and everything, and I noticed that if you're going to have that kind of fire, you should have some sort of suppressant around. You better have a hose. I mean, stuff that people don't know, because it would go like crazy from one wood fence to the other wood fence, and it would sweep southwest.
Yeah. And if you're going to do an outdoor fire pit, which has to be regulated, I mean, it has to be an unofficial fire pit.
Shouldn't they have a screen? Oh,
it has to have a screen over it. You have to burn clean wood.
Right.
You also have to have a 20-foot parameter around there without any combustibles. So that has to be
people don't know that.
Yeah, but that's posted on our website, and that's what we do. And we find that, and if we do get a call for an outdoor fire like that, then our staff are educated. They'll educate the homeowner to that fact. May have to put it out until they get in compliance.
No kidding.
Yeah, so... And we don't have a lot of problems with fires because of that. Mainly our fires are caused by encampments of the unhoused, and that may start some situations for us.
You have a wonderful community outreach program in various regards. Do you want to talk about some of those programs, things that people may not know about that they could avail themselves of beyond just what's on your website? Right. I mean, especially about the fire alarms. You'll come in and do a free check-in businesses too, won't you?
Right,
I mean,
we do. We have a really great community outreach, and it starts with our fire marshal's office, who goes out and does our business inspections. And we're not there just to inspect whether you have any violations or not, but if you have problems, we'll advise you on what you can do to correct and make that your business safer for your customers and yourself.
And yeah, I utilized that. It was a fantastic help to us. It got us squared up. We were missing some locations. We thought we had enough fire extinguishers. They just set us straight, and it was great. Yep.
And they want to work with the community. They're not there to try to do anything other than improve the safety and the fire safety of our community. And then we have a person who is our community risk reduction specialist, Hope Escobar. She is phenomenal. She's actually away this week on training, but she is amazing as it relates to getting that information out. And we have a team, community risk reduction team, and they look at everything we have going on in our community. And as we have trends or if we have things that we need to look at, they roll their sleeves up and figure out how we can solve this problem. Now, smoke alarms and CO alarms are always at the forefront for us. You can call in or put your request in through the website for a smoke alarm. You can either come pick it up or we will come and install it for you.
Wow, that's amazing.
If you have problems with your smoke alarms and you want us to come look at it, I will send an engine company out. We'll look at it, and if they deem that the smoke alarms are outdated, because they're only good for 10 years, if they're outdated, we can get you new smoke alarms as long as they're not hardwired.
Do they still beep if they're outdated? Will they still beep at you?
Some will, some will not. The outdated the beeping is usually because of the battery, not because of the date.
But if it does that mean it's still working?
It means that the battery is weak enough that you really can't depend on it. So you need to replace the battery.
Yeah. If you change it, I'm trying to deal with how to figure out how old my smoke alarms are in my house.
You can take them off the wall and pull them down, and there's a date on them.
Okay, fine.
And then if you look at the bottom and it has a date that's greater than 10 years old, I would recommend you replace them. But you need to replace them all. Don't just replace one at a time.
I understand. Gotcha.
I just finished doing all mine in my house. House, I do them about every 10 years. And it really only takes you about 15 minutes to do it. But then you have that sense of security, because a smoke alarm going off and detecting a fire early is your best chance of survival, your best chance of lessening your property loss,
right?
Your best chance of not being displaced from your house because of a fire. So active, working smoke alarms is your best defense.
And particularly important for disabled. We have a population that's getting older. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you will come on in and place these things for people is a huge blessing, especially to seniors or anybody that's disabled. You can't, at 80 years old, you don't want to even get up on a
And we
step
don't want
stool.
anybody jumping up on a ladder and falling, hurting themselves. And that's what we're here for. So we'll come and do that and make sure that we do things correct for you. And then, if you have any problems on a follow-up, we'd be glad to do that as well. Our fire departments are community-based. They really want to be part of the community, and we want to make sure that our community understands what we do, but also the fact that we can provide services that can keep them safe.
What should people do if they find themselves trapped in a burning building? I mean, you drop down to the floor? Is that one of the things that you do?
Stay on the floor, close the doors, separate yourself from the room that's burning. And if you can't get out, hope you have a cell phone with us, call us. Our response matrix is from the time we get the call to the time we're there, our travel time is less than 4 minutes on average.
Wow.
Many times we're there within 2 minutes. So let us know where you are. Our staff will go in, and we're very trained about doing the search. But if you can't get out, on the floor, close the door, and wait for us to get there.
Does water over your head or over your face, a wet towel or anything, is there any merit to that?
Not a lot of merit to that because, the smoke is going to get to you before the flames do. Mm. So it's really important that, again, stay low, stay away from the smoke, and then close the door, maybe put something under the bottom of the door so the smoke doesn't come in. And that way, it'll at least buy you a few minutes before the flames impinge into that room, depending on how much is burning.
How has opioid use and other public health crises impacted emergency responses in Roanoke? I mean, do you see, obviously, drugs are becoming more and more prevalent?
Yeah, we were one of the top 10% overdoses in the nation at one point in time per capita. And
wow.
We've fallen up to the top 25% now, which I'm pretty happy about. But opiate crisis has really been a significant impact on the number of calls that we answer, the criticality of the calls that we answer. And it's not just one area of the city, it's all areas of the city. So, it really we've had to readjust our response matrix. Now, if we have an overdose, you will get an engine, you'll get an ambulance, and you'll get an advanced care paramedic. Because we often find people who are overdosed on opiates, are not breathing. So they need to be managed. And a lot of times we'll walk in and there's 3 or 4 people not breathing.
Oh, my.
Because they all overdose at the same time.
Oh, my gosh.
So it is important that, we get that quick response. We have the Narcan available, and we recover them, the respiratory effort, and get them to the hospital.
Is there any quick message you want to leave for the people of Roanoke? If they have any questions, who can they call?
They can call our administrative number, 540-853-2327, and we'll be glad to fill any questions you may have. If you want us to come out to a community event, we'll be glad to send an engine out, an ambulance out, and do the education. We're out and in the schools, we're out in the communities, we're in the business community, we're visiting. So if you want to come by one of our fire stations and just tour, we would love to have you. Whether it's a small group of 1 or 2 or 3, or if you want to bring some preschool or something like that. We have them all the time.
Well, God bless you. Thank you so much, Chief Hoback, for all this information. It's been a great interview.
You're most welcome.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Let's Talk About, courtesy of Crowning Touch Senior Moving Services of Roanoke, Virginia, the only moving company with a consignment shop, auction house, and real estate division. We are a one-stop shop for any senior making a move. Check out our website at crowningtouchusa.com. Or if you are planning a move, call Anna at 540-982-5800 to arrange a free estimate. And don't forget to check out our monthly browse and bid auctions at 6712 Williamson Road in Roanoke, where you can bid online on over 1,800 items each month. Meanwhile, let's get back together next Friday at noon for more of Let's Talk About on Fox 910 and 104.3.